Hi, are you drowning in debt? Are you struggling to pay bills? Do you lay awake at night wondering how you're going to meet those obligations that you have? Do you want to know where the money's going to come from and where they're going to go for your next vacation? Well, if you're like any other American these days, you're really not alone. My name is Philip, and to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am a husband and father of three children, and my wife and I have been living debt free for the last 4 years. I am currently on active duty service with the U.S. military, and I am junior enlisted, so we don't exactly have the largest income. However, regardless of that, we have managed to live debt free. I'm also an accounting student and have 4 years of active experience with the financial services industry. Some points I want to discuss with you include, firstly, what is debt, how you can create a budget to manage your finances, and ultimately how to pay off debt. So to give you a little bit of information, um, there's various forms of debt out there. The most common, well known, most well understood is credit card debt. Okay, every person you know, they have these credit cards and they run up their numbers on them. In fact, from what we know, according to the credit tracking website NerdWallet, roughly 38% of the United States population maintains $17,000 of credit card debt every month. And that just revolves. It's like a revolving open door that they just keep paying interest on over and over and over, and it builds every month for them, and they just pay on it. In fact, to even more than that, student loans. Right now, student loans have actually surpassed credit card debt, are roughly a $1.2 trillion debt in the United States. In fact, the average American household has almost $48,000 of student loan debt. But even more than that, average American household now has roughly $130,000 in debt if you combine their credit card debt, their student loans, auto loans, and mortgages. So it's a very large, very expensive problem for pretty much all Americans. So how to address this? First of all, the first thing you have to do is you have to create a budget. There's lots of options out there. Given that we are in the 21st century, there's an app for that, as the saying goes. And some of the most popular apps, according to a recent study and according to what's called getmobile.com, there's actually four of the most popular apps out there. This one right here on the screen is known as Mint, and it's a very, very good budgeting software that you can use on your smartphone, and it'll actually tell you and warn you, and as well as help you build your budget every month. It rolls over. It's a very, very effective tool you can look at. Some other additional tools I have listed here as well. Just a few ones. You can read over these. You can check them out on your own, but I highly recommend you select one of these or another option that fits your needs. Budgets are very individual things. You have to do it on your own. You can't rely on someone else's thing to do. That it's as individual as your family, and there's only one of you, so you're gonna have to do that. Some other information I can give you though is, first of all, the most important part of your budget is your income. You need to know what income you're going to have from month to month on average. You don't need exact dollar net amounts, but you do need to know what you're expecting to come in. So the most important part of your budget is your income from your employment. It does not really truly matter what type of employment you have, but just something that works for you. Honestly, to give you some numbers on this, according to a recent Gallup poll, 2/3 of American households do not prepare a budget from month to month. So if you're part of that 1/3 that do, you're actually doing very, very well. And especially, if you, of course, if you have to stick to it. If you don't, it's not going to be very effective. So the key point to that, to having a budget, is to spend less than you make. If you do that, then at the end of the month, you'll have money left over to both pay down debt as well as save for a rainy day. And as long as you're saving that emergency fund, every month, even if it's a few dollars, the more money you put aside, the less likely you're going to have any issues later on. And if you do have an emergency that pops up, you can cover it without getting into further debt. Credit cards, personal loans, what have you. It's very important that you have this. Just to give you additionally some numbers that might be a little bit more helpful to know. Average American nowadays, just as an example, you're going to spend roughly $3,000 on going out to eat, eating out at restaurants this year. Imagine if you were to cut back 2 days of eating out a month, 2 or 3. According to the numbers, you'll have roughly $1,000 additional in your pocket at the end of the year if you do that. Think what you can do with that extra $1,000. Could you perhaps use it to pay down some debt? Could you use it to build your emergency fund? The possibilities are there, and it's very, very much in your hands. Some other information to give you. Frankly, the sooner you do this, the better off you will be. The sooner you start saving and the sooner you start paying off your debt, the less interest you'll be paying to others, and the more interest you'll be earning on your own money yourself. So, like I said, the points we've already discussed. We went over what is debt. Forms again. We have credit card debt. We have student loan debt. We have auto debt, which is a very, very big and prevalent issue. And the largest debt of all is mortgage debt. In fact, according to the U.S. Census Bureau and the Federal Reserve, the United States average American actually has just over $90,000 in mortgage debt. But that sounds like a relatively reasonable number until you learn that the average American these days that's getting loans for mortgages is taking out loans of excess of $300,000 in mortgage loans. And that's also according to some information from the Federal Reserve as well as the Census Bureau. So, like I said, create a budget. Find what your income is. Check your pay stubs. Sit down with your pay stubs, your bills, all your financial information that you have, and with your family. Sit down and write out that budget or use one of those apps and stick to it every month and begin paying down that debt. Just even if you pay a few dollars more than your minimum payments, starting with the smallest debt and working one by one to the largest debt, you'll be able to pay it off. There's a lot of resources out there, but as you work and as you climb that ladder out of that hole of debt, you'll find financial independence and freedom. And one day you'll be able to look back and think to yourself, I was down there, but now I'm up here, I'm happy, and I'm not worrying anymore about those vacations I want to go on today. I'm not worrying anymore about those bills that I once dreaded. Thank you very much for your time. You have a wonderful day.